Hello everyone, this is Jotto, and welcome to the first episode of Versus Series. Now, Versus Series is going to be a weekly show that I'm going to be doing on Wednesday, where a player from my team, Acebreakers, plays a best of 3 deck elimination show match against a fairly well-known pro player. So in this case, for the first episode, we've got Birdy from Acebreakers against Blackout, formerly the captain of MYM. He's not on a team right now, but he used to be on MYM, and he's fairly well known. He shows up in a lot of streams. So anyway, the format is best of 3 deck elimination, and you bring 3 decks, so you have the option of what to change to once you lose a game. So you lose the first game, you have 2 options of what to change to, so you don't get these weird rollover games where it's just some counter deck that works. So anyway, for the first match, we will have Warrior Control being brought in by Birdy. This is a very, very interesting list. We've got the 1 Acolyte Pain and 1 Tinkmaster. The Tinkmaster is a concession to Miracle, for the way I understand it. We also have Cairn, Sylvanas, Black Knight. Really going for these earlier ones, makes it better against Druid, and the Ysera. The Ysera is an interesting one as opposed to Alexstrasza. Ysera's a lot better against things like Druid, and Alexstrasza will often win or lose games that you're going to win or lose anyway. It doesn't really change the pace of the game that much, except against aggro decks, because you can heal yourself back up to 15. Ysera is a much bigger concession to Druid, which is a very, very popular deck right now, and especially in a tournament, most people's first choice is either Shaman or Druid, and Ysera is better against those decks. That would be the reason why that Diamond drop is in there. The Tinkmaster is the major interesting one though, and that's just a concession to Concealed Gadgetzans. Now, as for Blackout's first list, he is playing Backspace Rogue or Rush Rogue. This is also a very interesting teched up list. We got the 1 Sap, 1 Backstab as opposed to double Sap. And besides that, I think pretty much the entire list is standard. You just rush down your opponent. But yeah, the 1 Sap, 1 Backstab is the only difference, and we'll have to see how that particularly goes. So anyway, without further ado, let's get on to the mulligans. So at top we got Blackout, and Blackout I think sends back just the Arcane, and as for the Warrior, you send back, I would say, the Kor'kron Elite and the Azure Drake, and also the Shield Block. We just see what he sends back. Yeah, he's debating sending the Shield Block back, because, I mean, it's good against Rush Rogue, but not so much against Miracle, so I think you want to send it back. Blackout is known for playing Miracle. So yeah, it looks like he's going to be sending it back. He might keep the Kor'kron, though. He's debating whether or not this is Miracle, and yeah, he's going to send back all 3. So anyway, the first couple turns are going to be fairly simple. There isn't much decision making that actually goes on the first couple turns. The Coin Axe is pretty much the only way you can deal with that Lephanome without taking a bunch of damage, so you have to take the 4. Now, the main problem with Defias Ringleader, I think I may not have kept the Backstab Defias against Warrior, because they don't really play damage 2 drops. You're kind of betting that they have Armor Smith. That's kind of what you're betting on. And the Warrior for the first couple turns here is going to be very, very reactive, so he's just going to be healing up with his hero power. Now, if you notice, Blackout didn't attack with his dagger on turn 2. The main reason for that is so that he can combo his Defias. He wants to save his SI7 to kill something like an Armor Smith. Or it's just earlier pressure. You can play it as early pressure, but it's much, much better to use it a little bit later. Now, the Cruel Taskmaster is a huge draw here. It lets him kill the entire Defias for more or less free. He does take the 2 damage on his armor from the 2-2 though. So now we've got the Backstab, and I think we're going to see the SI7 get some extra damage on your opponent. Now, I don't agree with playing the 2-1 here. The only reason I don't agree with playing the 2-1 is because you have Cold Blood in your hand, so you'd rather use it as surprise damage, especially with you only having 1 card in your hand. You might have problems actually comboing that Cold Blood. And in this particular case, yeah, this Cold Blood, he needs a good top deck, or that Cold Blood is now a completely dead card. So I think that was a mistake. Let's see what he top decks. Yeah, Eviscerate. This is what I mean. Now he's got a dead turn. He doesn't really know what he can do. Whereas if he had the 2-1, he could have played it with charge, dealt 6 this turn, and he would still be doing really, really well. Black Knight's a bit of a dead draw. Fortunately for Blackout, Birdy is drawing the slower half of his deck. He's out of removal, more or less. And now the Assassin's Blade comes through, and I think that's going to save him this game. The Assassin's Blade is going to do all the damage he needs and more. But I think he probably would have won this game. There's the Tinkmaster. Now, I think you play the Karen here. I mean, actually, no, you play Tinkmaster because you want to armor up. I would play the Tinkmaster and armor up. You want to get as many armor ups as is humanly possible in. Now we're looking at something like Leroy or Arcane Golem. And there's the Leroy, and that's the win. So, yeah, I think the Cold Blood was a bit of a mistake, but besides that, pretty standard game. Pretty flawless from both ends there. Just a slight slip up on Blackout's part, but he drew very, very well for the matchup. So anyway, moving on to game number 2. So, as I said, this is deck elimination. So, Birdy has switched out to a tournament version of the Crispy's Kitty deck, which you guys do know about from Hearthstone. It's been on the front page there for a while. This is a tournament version that the two of us actually worked on for Zotac runs and things like that, and he was using it here as well. So, as for this particular list, the Crispy's Kitty list is basically a Stranglethorn Tiger version of it's Stranglethorn Tiger version of Ramp Druid. Now this is a Stranglethorn Tiger version of Fast Druid. The only differences between this and the slower variant is that there is a second Argent Commander in the list and also a Sen'jin instead of the double Ancient of War. Now, I play Violet Teacher in my particular version of this for tournaments. He plays Sen'jin, and I think the reason he's playing Sen'jin is because he wanted to be more sure against aggro. Because Fast Druid lists can be a little sketchy against aggro a lot of the time. So you want to be more sure against aggro and things like rush decks. Now the rest of the list is much, much better in tournaments because it's better against Miracle, it's better against all the sort of the rush decks, you can rush them down. You don't have Ancient Wars though, which is a major thing. The only thing it's worse against is Zoo. It's very, very good against Handlock as well. The normal ramp list is quite difficult it's quite difficult to actually win against Handlock with that. Whereas this particular list, even if you don't have the BGH, you can still deal with the first giant because you have enough early pressure. So yeah, we've got the kitties out. The Stranglethorn Tigers are going to probably play a major role against Sap, but he's only playing one Sap, so that may not even come up. But anyway, so keeping that in mind, we'll go on to the second mulliganing. Alright, so from Birdy's point of view, I think you keep that hand, and we got an instant keep from Blackout, and I think I agree. Double Argent Squire Loot Hoarder Backstab is an amazing hand. Now as far as Birdy is concerned, I think you keep that. And yeah, he does. So, moving into game 2. Now, Blackout has an amazing turn 1 here with the double Argent Squire. You could also coin out Loot Hoarder, but that just dies to hero power, so it's not always the best. Although sometimes you can do that to interrupt the wild growth. That is a legitimate strategy. Yeah, there's the threat in there. We're just going to see the wild growth come out now. Whereas sometimes if you play Loot Hoarder, you can mind games them into making the mistake of just hero powering it instead. We see Loot Hoarder come out here. Wants to apply as much early pressure as is possible. Because he has got very, very little gas in his hand right now. It's mainly removal in the backstab and finishing cards in the Arcane Golem and Shadow Step. So we are most likely going to see a backstab, the Loot Hoarder, and one of the 1/1s into this thing, or maybe a dagger. I think the dagger would be better. Yeah, we're going to see the dagger coming into this thing. Perfect sequencing on Blackout's part, doing the dagger last after he sees what he draws to make sure he doesn't have anything that he wants to use instead. Even if there isn't anything in the deck, it's always a good habit to get into to do sequencing correctly. It means that if there is a situation where there is something better in the deck, you don't miss it. Now, Birdy is probably going to Keeper of the Grove here and Innervate to kill one of the 1/1s. The Innervates are a bit dead right now. He's just focused on getting as much damage off the board. There is a debate for taking off the second shield, so you don't have problems with Cold Blood, but he does have Argent Commander to get rid of that, and also Force of Nature, so I think that's correct. Now, Blackout is currently dealing with one of the problems with Backspace, which is too many burst cards. So he may just have to play the Arcane Golem and go face. or pass. Let's see what he decides to do. Yeah, he's going for the pass. Now, what this tells Birdy is that there's a lot of burn in his hand and a lot less sort of straight minions. So he's going to be playing a lot more defensively from now on. He won't take as many risks as he would if there were a lot of creatures on the board. He's debating the Druid of the Claw. I think the Druid of the Claw is correct in taunt, and then also taking off the shield of the 2/4. The other play is Blood Mage Hero Power, but I think I prefer... Actually, if you Blood Mage Hero Power, you can draw a card, and you can also play Druid of the Claw and Hero Power next turn, so I think that's where the logic is. I think I might play the Druid of the Claw this turn instead, because then if it gets sapped, you can actually replay it, and if he doesn't sap it and just plays something else to deal with it, it takes a lot of burn. So I think the Druid of the Claw would have been better there. Oh, we saw an instant play. Oh, that's a Leperno. And a Eviscerate coming out. Eviscerate going for the face. Okay, he's becoming very, very aggressive, and I think that's all the information Birdy needs now. He knows that he's playing against a full burn hand. If Eviscerate goes to the face when you're at 24 life, it means there's a full burn hand. So he's going to be playing as defensively as is humanly possible. Actually, I think we might see the Tiger come out here. You want to save the Druid of the Claw? Yeah, I think I would prefer playing the Tiger there, because the Tiger can get a lot of damage in. And the Druid of the Claw should come down when you're scared of dying in one turn, whereas at the moment he's not quite to that level yet. Ah, there's the second Shadow Step. Yep, you could sap and then play Arcane Golem and Shadow Step it and play it again, but that's so risky. I think Blackout's currently in a bit of a problem. You might even consider Blade Flurrying this. No, because you can just sap and attack. Wasting the sap here is really annoying. I mean, it's not technically a waste, but it means you only have one in the deck, and if he's playing Ancient of War, which you don't know whether he is or not, you might be in some serious, serious trouble. You see him, he's going to replay the Arcane Golem and not Shadow Step it. He's saving that for Leroy. That's interesting. I mean, I think saving it for Leroy is okay, because at the moment, the 4 extra damage, especially considering you just sapped a Druid of the Claw, is not as necessary. Although, because of all that extra mana he's given him, we're going to see the Druid of the Claw come down. I think maybe replaying the Arcane Golem the second time instead of just keeping it in your hand, that might have been a mistake. I think that was probably the mistake there. Because it means that he had extra mana. Although in this particular case it didn't matter, because he would have had 9, it's still something to keep in mind. We're going to see Dagger up, Poison, attack Flurry, get him down to 8. This is where it gets a little bit worrying for Birdy right now. He does, however, have a lot of direct. We might actually see the Argent Commander come out here. I think we're going to see the Argent Commander or the Tiger. I would say the Argent Commander is better in this particular situation. I mean, the Tiger does mean you can kill him through like any Earthring Farseer text or anything, but the Argent Commander has to be dealt with, although I think both are okay. I'm tempted to say both are okay, because the Tiger hits really, really hard on its own. So if he's running anything weird with taunts or healing, then it makes sense to do it this way. But this game is basically over now. We're going to see the combo next turn, and that's going to swing it back in. So I think the main interesting thing about this was that it really showed the opposite end of Backspace, where Backspace Rogue is a very, very consistent and powerful deck. However, it does have a lot of cards that just aren't really that good in a lot of situations. They're very, very burst heavy, and if you don't draw those Cold Light Oracles early in the game, you're in a lot of trouble in this particular case. As you see him calling the well play, because he knows he's gonna get mauled by the combo any second. As we see the combo and the BM banana. Oh, the BM attack on the Mukla as well, and that's the end of game 2. So, moving on to game 3. Now, Blackout was the one who had to change decks here. So, we see Blackout changing into Shaman. Now, Shaman is traditionally a very, very good deck against Druid. So, it should do pretty well. We'll have to see. I mean, the faster Druid decks can usually do better against Shaman because they don't run Ancient of War or anything like that, which can be really, really bad against Shaman. And so, I mean, it won't be as bad as it could be. I think this is not an auto win on the Shaman's perspective by any point. We look at the actual Shaman list itself. It's very, very standard. Blackout's quite a standard player. He plays a lot of decks, but they're usually fairly standard. It's a bit like Tice. So we've got the one Lava Burst, the one Gnomish Inventor, we've got the double Argent Squires, the Black Knight, Alakir, Doomhammer. These are all very, very standard techs. Before anyone makes a comment, I know the overlay thing in the background's a bit out of center. Anyway, the Shaman list itself is incredibly standard, and I expected to have about a 60% chance of beating the Druid deck. I think if it was a slower Druid deck, it would be about 70 or 80% chance. But because it's one of the faster ones, I do think it goes down to about 60 to 50. So we'll have to see how it actually goes. I think this matchup is a lot closer than a lot of people will give it credit for. So if we go into mulligans, Birdy has got a fairly simple one. You send back one Innervate. And Blackout just had a terrible hand in general. We had Earth Shock, Fire Elemental, things like that. Pretty simple mulligans overall. So, moving into game 3. Now, Birdy has a fairly terrible hand. We got the Innervate Harvest Golem. Innervate Harvest Golem is a really, really bad play normally. And normally you only do it if you don't have any other way of sinking Innervate. And in this case, that is true. Now, yeah, we're just going to see the Rockbiter come out and kill this. I think Birdy must be extremely happy that this happened, because now that Rockbiter is not around for the burst. That second Innervate might save him because he can Innervate out the Ancient Allure on turn 5 to draw some cards. Alright, so we got Blackout has one of those hands where he could have coined Feral Spirited there, but I think the main point of looking at it is he's got Flame Tongue Totem, so there's not really much of a point. So we've got we've got second Harvest Golem coming down here. Now, I think you're going to play the Harvest Golem, and I think you go face. Yeah, there's not much point in doing anything else. I mean, you could go Flame Tongue Totem Earth Shock, but then you just kill the Flame Tongue for free. So I do actually think going face is far superior to killing the Totem here. He does in fact kill the Totem, but I do think going face was a much, much better play. So we see Feral Spirit coming down. Now this Feral Spirit is going to be incredibly annoying because we got a Flame Tongue Totem coming down. And the top deck Wrath, that is huge. The Wrath allows you to kill both of these wolves, and that is a massive, massive draw. Next turn you also have Ancient Allure, which by the looks of it is going to have to get Lava Bursted. So that's a huge amount of burn used, and just the overloaded mana here is going to absolutely kill Blackout's tempo. We're probably just going to see Totem. I don't think there's anything you can really draw. We're just going to see Totem and pass. You might use the coin here for the Unbound. I think Totem is better, because the Unbound could just die. Yeah, he has the Totem, but now we've got a free Innervate Ancient Allure and a second Ancient of Lore. This is a huge, huge turnaround from the opening hands. The Ancient Allure is the best card in the matchup for the Druid. He needs the cards, and there's 2 of them in Birdy's hand right now. Well, one of them's on the board, but he just drew. Also, playing the normal one instead of the golden one, I am disappointed. Yeah, we've got the coin Lava Burst here. Now we have a fairly large Unbound Elemental. Interesting, using the Hex instead of the Lava Burst. I think that's a major mistake. You're going to see the Argent Commander here over the Druid of the Claw, I should say. Actually, Argent Commander can be used to kill bigger things. The Druid of the Claw doesn't die when it kills this, so I think the Druid of the Claw is better. But yeah, I think not playing the Lava Burst there was a huge mistake. You're not going to use it for Burst in this matchup. And that's pretty much the best Lava Burst target in the entire deck. So I am extremely sort of sketchy on that play. Now, you could play Ancient Allure and draw. I think Ancient Allure draw is riskier, but then the worst he can do is clear the frog and then trade. So I think that's absolutely fine, and it gets you into a better situation overall. Okay, that was interesting. I'm not quite sure I agree with that. I think if you were going to do that, you should just play the Argent Commander. I think going face is much, much better, because we're probably going to see a Storm here. Or a Burst, yeah. Alright, so this is why it's confusing. He hexed the first one, they bursted the second one. That's why I'm sort of a little sketchy on this, because why didn't he just burst the first one to get his Unbound into, like, out of Druid of the Claw and Argent Commander range? That didn't make much sense to me. I know the Harvest Golem's there, but you'd also like leave him with just a damage golem. Now, playing the Flame Tongue in that particular position, while it looks interesting because it means you don't get Big Game Huntered, you've got to keep in mind there's a damage golem on the board, so if he has Big Game Hunter, he can still clear your board extremely easily. Now, what that did allow is that if he doesn't have Big Game Hunter, he can't just, or if he does have Big Game Hunter and he wants to save his damage golem, he can't, because he has to run it into the 2/2, and if he kills the Flame Tongue with something else, he can't do that, because then he can't Big Game Hunter. So it's an interesting play, and I think it's still vulnerable to Big Game Hunter, but it's better than nothing. And there's the BGH a turn too late. Always a turn too late. We're going to probably see the Yeti, and no, we're going to see the Argent Commander and Hero Power, definitely. Argent Commander, Hero Power. Yeah, you almost made the mistake there of attacking a 3 health, 3 attack Flame Tongue buffed totem, so yeah, almost caught himself there. Now, Blackout's hand is fairly interesting right now. We're just going to see the Azure Drake. Playing Azure Drake into a Argent Commander is one of the worst feelings in the world, because the Argent will kill that for free. And now this is when I start getting really worried. I think we're just going to see the Yeti and the Druid of the Claw in charge. I think playing the Yeti and the Druid of the Claw was better, because what are you drawing into at this point? You already have the massive combo. He's looking for Innervate. I think you just okay, now you swipe Yeti. Swipe Yeti is superior because it doesn't die to Lightning Storm. But I still think playing the Yeti and the Druid of the Claw was better than that, and just trading, because then your board isn't that vulnerable to Lightning Storm. Not really. He needs a bunch of spell power. So I do actually, I mean, there's double storm, so it wouldn't even matter, but I do think it was a little sketch. Now, we're going to see these storms. He needs to roll 3 on the Yeti. Yeah, and he does get the clear. So the double storm would have blown him out, but still, you can't really play around that. Not to mention, I think, actually, you could have just gone full face, but then you don't get play around some of the other stuff. Now, you could just go Druid of the Claw, attack face here. The other thing you can do is Druid of the Claw. I mean, Druid of the Claw, the face play Big Game Hunter is another. You also play Keeper. This is a difficult turn. I think because I'm a bit more of a risk, I'm a bit riskier of a player. I think I'd go Cat Form, Druid of the Claw, and Savage Roar, and just go full face and take him down to almost nothing. Now, saving, I would actually save the Keeper here, because how do you get around an Alec here is the major thing I'm thinking about at this point. I think I would have actually gone Druid of the Claw, Savage Roar, and just gone straight face. He would be on 10 life right now. The top deck Feral Spirits is huge, although I think Alakir Rockbiter would have been a much, much safer play, because by doing it this way, a combo will do a lot of damage. Combo will take you down to almost nothing. Oh, we've got the Tiger as well. The question is it time to combo or is it time to Tiger? I think it's time to Tiger and start clearing these and then win with combo next turn. I do think playing the Alakir is a little better in that situation. He does, I mean, you can take out both and get a 3/3 on the board, and he can't deal with that 3/3, so I think that was a much, much better play. You're not going to win with Burst. You've already used too much of your Burst. You've already used both Rockbiters. You're not going to win with Burst, so I would say it's time to give up the Burst plan. We are, however, seeing the Infinite Taunt stream that Shaman is very, very good at with the Defender of Arguses and the Totems. Is it time to combo? No, it is time to Wild Growth, and if you get a second combo at this point, you just win. As you see, the Wrath. The Wrath is a fairly big draw. You can kill the 2/2/2s? This is actually difficult. I think you want to start killing these taunts no matter what. Force of Nature, you could double Savage Roar for lethal next turn, so I think Force of Nature, Hero Power, or Force of Nature, Wrath to draw. No, I think Hero Power is better. You may want to save the Wrath. So, Hero Power and clear all the taunts, I think is a very, very good play here, because the double Savage Roar is lethal next turn. If you look at it that way. Oh, I think attacking, how much damage is double Savage Roar? It's 9 plus 5, 14. So I think that was a little bit of a mistake, because you're going to get the same amount of damage in anyway. And yeah, the Alakir is going to come down here. The Tiger is going to die, and I would say Blackout is in an advantageous position now. Oh, we got the second tiger. That could be huge. That could be huge. This second tiger might win him the game. He's debating the Wrath Savage Roar clear. I think you do Wrath Savage Roar, because then you clear the Alakir, and that's most likely his final taunt. Okay, he's not going for it. Interesting. I think I would have, because Alakir is most likely the final taunt in his deck. So that's pretty much... I mean, actually, is there one more Feral? No, he's used both Ferals. He's going to taunt his own guys at this point with Hex, I think. He's toteming first. And he's going to play the Unbound. That might be a little greedy, depending on what this draw is. He's dead to combo right now, whereas if he Hex, I don't think he would be. The Black Knight comes out. Is that enough? Double Savage Roar, Hero Power, Wrath is lethal. That's huge. That is amazing. That's an insane way of ending a game. Normally you see the Force of Nature combo, not the Tiger combo. And boom goes the Dynamite. That's not something you see every day. A 9-attack Tiger finishing off a Shaman. So anyway, if we look at those 3 games as face value, we've got Control Warrior losing to Backspace Rogue, which was actually fairly interesting. Normally that's a pretty hard matchup for Backspace because of all the healing, but there weren't any Armor Smiths or anything, so it was a pretty major loss in terms of the minions for Birdy. And then the second game, we had Blackout bricking a little bit on the Shadow Steps with the Arcane Golem, which can be really, really hard. And against Druid, if they get the taunts, it's really difficult to win. The third game, however, was definitely the most sort of backwards and forwards game. It was very, very close. I think there was a few mistakes on both sides, but that's just expected. Everyone makes mistakes. And it was a very, very good game, very, very close. It could have gone either way on multiple different turns, and I'm very, very happy that that game was actually played, because it was definitely the best game of the series. Anyway, thank you all for watching. If you like the content, please subscribe. If you have any feedback, want to talk about the series, besides the slanted intro to each game screen, I realized that was a bit weird. I just haven't had time to fix it yet. So besides that, put any feedback in the comment section below. But as for now, this has been Jotto, signing off.